It's about the I gotta say, it's the stupidest thing in sports.
Being able to run as he shoots the moon to the fans here in Green Bay.
That is a disgusting act by Randy Moss.
This is not Detroit, man. This is the Super Bowl.
Here we go. Stop from the gun to the
This is BS Sports.
Oh, I forgot to add Seth. There he is. Hello. Welcome to BS Sports. We got a good show for you all this evening. Got a lot of NBA talk, some NHL talk, a little NFL talk mixed in there. DeAndre Hopkins released, sent away from the retirement home that is the Arizona Cardinals. We're going to talk about where we think he's going to land. We got some MSU stuff. We're both wearing MSU stuff. We pointed this out in the pre-show. I was like, hey, I'm wearing
Yeah.
MSU stuff.
I
And he's
know.
wearing MSU stuff. It's
Great
almost
minds
like
think
we're
alike.
fans. I know. That's what I was
Yeah.
thinking. So, yeah, we're gonna go through a lot of things. A lot of things have happened. We almost cursed the city of Miami. We
Very
were
nearly.
very close. We
We
were one
almost did
game
that.
away.
Absolutely.
But we're gonna start with that. That's the headliner. The Heat, Game 7, absolute massacre
Yeah.
in the Boston Garden. They haven't seen that many people die in Boston since the colonial days.
Correct.
Because that was one of the most anticlimactic Game 7s ever. Because everybody was like, oh, they're going back to Boston. This never happened in a 3-0 switch where you go back to the home team for Game 7. They're gonna do it. They're gonna 0 and 150. No one's ever done it. Boston's gonna no. They
That's
just
not how
died.
that works. Yeah.
Jason Tatum. Ooh, I rolled my little ankle. Ooh, I can't play. I was gonna say Monty. That's their coach. Missoula, Joe.
Yeah, Missoula.
Ooh, Joe,
Yeah.
I can't play. My ankle hurts.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Did you
Not
watch
good.
that game?
No.
Okay.
I was at work last night at
That's
the lovely
yes.
Home Depot.
Well,
So,
I hear they don't. Do they sell televisions at Home Depot?
I don't believe we
I don't.
have
Yeah, I was gonna
those.
say I don't think they do. That's
Mm-mm.
more of a Best Buy kind of thing.
That would be more of a Best Buy
Yeah,
thing, yeah.
yeah.
But
But
anyway, no.
yeah. I mean, did you like?
I did see
Apparently,
highlights.
I
Jaylen Brown
saw
can't dribble to the left. That's all I
Jaylen
know.
Brown. What did he have? Like 8 turnovers?
Something like that. He
Like,
cannot dribble a
and they had
basketball.
They had a team total of like 10. It was like
Yeah, it
you were
was
turning the ball over
it was Jaylen
80%
Brown.
of the time.
Yes.
Oh
It was
my
Jaylen Brown
goodness.
turning the ball over the entire game for the Celtics. So.
And you know what's interesting about that is that only ups the trade talks for Jaylen Brown because
Absolutely.
the city of
Yeah.
Boston and
It's
that
him.
organization, they are like, Jaylen, you're dead to us. We're not paying you whatever it is you're asking.
Yeah.
That's got to be a really awkward meeting, right? It's
it has to
it's
be.
like, hey, I get it. The season didn't end the way we got close. We got real close. We were one game away.
But
Now, how about like a max deal? Is that still on the table?
he's like, got any more money?
Yeah,
for
come
me?
on, come on, we're buddies.
Come on.
And then just
Pass it over.
hello, Joe.
Where'd they go?
I don't even. Who's the GM for the Boston Celtics?
I don't even know. It's not Ainge anymore.
I don't know who's the owner.
I don't even know
TD?
that.
The guy who owns TD, right? I don't
TD.
know. I don't
Yeah.
know these things. I'm not a Boston fan. But as far as
I'm
how
not
that, I
either.
mean, like, we had a short discussion over the weekend, over the Memorial Day weekend, of a theory. And this is not my theory. This is my father's theory that we'll talk NHL a little bit because that series also went on a little bit longer than I thought.
Mhm.
But the theory goes that, it's the holiday weekend. People are going to be off. They're going to be having barbecues. People are going to be over. Well, we got to have something on TV. Why don't you put the hockey games? I think, why don't we put the basketball or the hockey game on?
Yeah.
And like, well, before going in, it's like, well, wait a minute. Vegas is up 3-0.
Yep.
Miami's up 3-0.
Yep.
Shoot. How are we going to do? We can't have no basketball or no hockey over the Memorial. We can't have that.
Exactly.
Our product is designed for these weekends. Memorial Day weekend, NHL playoffs, NBA playoffs. Come on. That's the prime time. Honestly, that is probably like when they get a lot of their viewership, right?
I would guess, yeah.
And so they're like, shoot.
How
Well,
do we do this?
okay, we can't will the baskets to go in, but maybe we just give a couple more calls. And I'm not even going to go into I don't know if there was any, egregious calls, but that was just a theory that my dad had. And it kind of turned out to be right because both series ended on Memorial Day, which theoretically if people were having barbecues the day of, right?
Yeah, probably.
You got 2 game deciding, in Vegas's case, it was 6, but it was still, series deciding game. And that's another one. Jeez. Dallas just what is with these elimination games of just laying goose eggs? I just don't get it.
Yeah.
At all. Like, I don't know. I was listening to the radio at work today.
Because you're an old guy, but
that's right, because I'm an old man.
Yeah.
And they were saying, I would rather get swept And I'm not sure. I've go back and forth because like the idea is right. If you just get swept, it's like you're getting shot in the head as opposed to somebody cutting off.
That's
your
like a
arms or
clear
something.
cut.
Yeah, it's
they
like
are the better
you
team.
okay, whatever. We never stood a chance, right?
Yeah.
With like
I can
the
understand
Lakers,
that.
they get swept. They're
Yeah.
done. They never stood a chance. There was never any hope. Even if they win one game, that's like a
Still.
small amount of hope. Oh, Jake Rogers did hit another home run. This guy only hits home runs. He's got a sub 200 average, and he's hit his
But he only
sixth
hits
home
home
run
run.
of the year.
Round of applause.
Good job, Jake.
Good job,
He's
Jake.
terrible. Sorry, I'm watching the Tigers in the background. So, as per usual, we'll see if the Tigers are 0-3. I think because this is episode 4. They're 0-3 on games where we have a show. So
that is
let's
true.
see if they
With
can
the
do
bad
it.
luck
They have a
charm for the
2-1
Tigers.
lead over the Texas Rangers. And
Well,
if they win this game, then baseball just doesn't make any sense. I shouldn't even talk about it. But anyways,
probably jinxed it already, but it doesn't matter.
that's probably right. Yeah. But anyways, so we go into now.
Yep.
What we expected, a Heat Nuggets finals.
Mm-hmm.
But the Heat look a lot more mortal than we anticipated.
Yeah,
I mean, you probably have a lot more people pushing for Miami to lose the finals than you might have otherwise had.
That's possible. I mean, I think I remember calling it, last week when we did the show last week. I said, that's going to be it's going to be Nuggets and Heat in the finals, and I said the Nuggets probably take it in 6.
Yeah.
I don't think it goes to 7 games because it just goes back to the whole matchup thing that Denver has over Miami, and there's really one matchup in particular. Who's going to guard Jokic?
Yeah,
nobody.
That's what I was going to say.
So
because
it's just
their
like,
best defenders who Bam. And
I mean, as far as a big man defender, absolutely. Jimmy's probably their best defender on the wings, but he's not going to guard Jokic. At least that's my guess.
No, unless Jokic is like, you know what? I'm just going to shoot threes from now on. I'm the new Steph Curry.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he could be the
He
Serbian
can
Steph.
shoot from 3. We've seen him do it. And honestly, the worse the shot looks, the better shot it has of actually going.
It's weird. He had a highlight against the Lakers that he had to he did a crazy step back 3 at the end of a shot clock, and he brings it way over his head and he goes.
It was like that one shot that LeBron had in that series where I think he was trying to alley-oop and he just sort of tossed it and then it goes. I was like,
and it goes in.
That go in.
Exactly.
I was like, oh, okay. Yeah. I guess that is better than the alley-oop. Actually.
It's true.
So
exactly.
You did that.
And so I think, I mean, a big thing for the Heat throughout the playoffs has been them shooting. For some reason, they can shoot threes now in the playoffs.
Hey, they
got Denver.
They got Duncan Robinson.
That is true.
Where did
he has been playing pretty well. So
I feel like it's somewhere familiar. Duncan Robinson.
I think he went to a community college or D3 college or something, and then he's one of the undrafted.
He went to U
guys.
of M for a little bit.
That's right.
But I think he originally went to Williams College. That's probably what you're thinking of.
Yes. But so I mean, I don't know. It'll be an interesting finals series, I think, but I don't think that the Heat are going to put up. Again, I think 6 is a safe bet. I think the Nuggets could even do it in 5. There's all these variables because the Miami bench is by far better than the
than Denver.
Than the Denver bench.
But the Denver starting 5 is probably better than the Miami starting 5. And
so it's there's all these
people who get the most minutes.
Yeah, and so I mean I think the big thing in the series is going to be who can help Jokic put points on the board, and then for Miami it's going to be who can assist Jimmy.
Well, the other thing though that I think I've thought about is obviously they're going to be probably a little rusty, right? I mean, I know it's only been
it's possible
a week or it'll be 2 weeks, but this is a thing. I mean, at least it could be a thing. The Tigers, I know this is a different sport, but the Tigers, both times they went to the World Series, they swept in the championship round. So they were, everyone, they're well rested.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Sometimes it's a little bit
better
of a
to
back.
just
it's because then you're hot. You're still ready to go. You're not, totally in this we got this. We're relaxed. Everything's fine.
Yeah.
Look at that. A little RBI double from Spencer Torkelson.
Okay.
Baez sliding in safely.
There you go.
How are we scoring this many runs? We've already scored 3 runs.
Maybe this is where This
We
is the
got
show
shut
where the
out
streak
yesterday.
ends. Maybe this is where the streak ends, Mike. We'll see.
That's probably it. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's probably it. We're only 2 games removed from 500. We'll get to some baseball because there's a terrible
Yeah.
story for the Tigers that I put in the show notes late today because it came out today.
Right.
Because I don't know. The sports gods or
Yeah.
somebody has it out for the Detroit Tigers.
Well,
I don't know who it is.
Detroit is the key factor there.
Isn't it?
Yep.
Hey, it's making a comeback.
Hey.
Sure it is. But as far as the rest of the NBA playoff, I mean, like I guess I'm satisfied that the series went to 7. Because it gives us a little bit more to talk about as far as the Celtics. Just
It is true. Yeah.
I mean, look,
They built a house yesterday. I mean, they shot 21% from 3. That's crazy.
built a house. I was like, wait a minute, what do you mean they built a? And then I
Yeah.
understand now.
And then you realize that they
bricks.
shooting 9 of 42 is brick, right?
Ugh, 9 of 42.
Mm-hmm.
How did they?
9 of 42 right here.
From the arc?
21.4%. Yeah, from 3.
Okay, I was gonna say, like, how did
They
they
shot
get that many points?
39% from the field,
That is unacceptable.
and the Heat shot
In a
48.
game 7 at your house, you
Uh-huh.
let them come into your house and use your bathroom.
I know. It's
Like,
crazy.
what are you doing? Oh my gosh. I see. The thing is,
Yeah.
it's kind of obviously we're both pretty much emotionally removed from these series.
Yeah.
But if this was the Pistons or the Bucks that in game 7 they come to the LCA or they come to what is it that Milwaukee plays in?
Fiserv Forum.
Yes, if they come into the Forum and then just like Giannis like scores like 10 points, Chris
Yep.
Middleton's like 0 for 4,000.
I know.
You would be screaming out the rooftops. I think I'd hear you from my apartment, and you're like
Yeah.
20 minutes away driving. Like,
Exactly.
I'd be like,
Yeah.
"Oh, is
Oh,
that him over there?
I
think
hear
I
him."
hear him."
And
Oh,
I'd be
man.
just sitting there, and I'd
This is bad.
Yes.
This is very,
Stephen
very
A.
bad.
Yeah. Right.
Stephen
Like
A.
he'd
agrees,
commit suicide or something.
That's right. That's
you
right.
know? It's all this. Yeah. It's
Sorry. No.
just crazy. I mean, I wish I could say I feel bad for Celtics fans, but I really don't because they're Celtics fans.
Yeah. I mean, they're just like. Obviously, the Pistons have some history with the Celtics, with the Bad
Yeah.
Boys and Larry Bird. So I've never really been a big Celtics fan, but
Well,
like,
of course.
I mean, in this case, they're not, the Celtics that I grew up with Ray Allen and Kevin Garnett and Paul Pierce and Rajon Rondo, just like an utter, who's who of
Insane
Hall of Fame
team.
players, right?
Yep.
Like, and then, like, back in I was not alive at this point. To surprise many people, I was not alive in the 1980s and 90s.
As far as we know, of course.
As far as we know, of course. You had Larry Bird and whoever else was on that.
Robert
Celtics team.
Parrish, Kevin McHale.
That's the one. Robert Parrish. That sounds like a Home Alone character. Robert Parrish. It
yeah.
just sounds like
He's one
or
of
like
the-
a 90s movie character.
Yeah.
It's like I'm Robert Parrish. Or
Yeah, he's
isn't
like-
that the
he's a
guy from
villain.
Shawshank? Wasn't his name Parrish or something?
Something like that. Yeah. I think
don't
you're
know.
actually right about that.
I thought it was Parrish. I don't know.
Yeah.
But
knows?
like, yeah, obviously the Pistons have that history. The
Yeah.
Bucks just recently had their series with Boston.
Mhm.
I don't really know. Like, this is something I've gone back and forth on just with other people. Like, are there really any rivalries anymore? I mean, you had the Cavaliers and the Warriors, but like that was a
Yeah.
little one-sided, right? I mean, the Warriors
yeah.
were destroying them every
As far
year.
as far as
Like-
overall goes, it was pretty one-sided.
Who's the Lakers Celtics? Who's the Pistons Bulls? Who's the like?
Yeah, I don't
it just
know.
seems
There's
like
not
these
really-
guys like. I think it's like an element of the times where
Yeah.
these players are kind of individuals playing for a team. So like you have
Yeah.
you have LeBron and Draymond that are just like boys. It's like why? Like why?
Yeah.
Like that would not
Yeah.
be a
Well,
thing in
that's
the
the
80s or
case.
90s. It's like
Oh no.
Isaiah Thomas and Michael Jordan still don't
Hey.
like each other.
Correct.
Now, granted, I think Michael Jordan's totally in the wrong, but
Well-
that is a discussion for another day.
That's
Like,
hey,
but
maybe
you know
some
what?
bias,
It's like
but
there was like a genuine like whether or not I'm not saying we need everybody to just hate each other and Malice in the
still.
Palace 2.0. But
seriously, yeah. But
but
no, I agree.
it would
There's
make a
like,
good documentary.
it would absolutely.
Did you
But,
watch that? The Malice in the Palace
did.
on Netflix.
Yeah.
I thought
have
that was
seen
pretty good.
Yeah.
It was. I mean, like it was from the perspective of the Pacers, obviously, because we did not implode from that. We were very, very successful after that,
Correct.
actually,
Yes.
which is kind of ironic.
Well,
But I don't know. I mean, as far as the NBA goes, when do the finals start? Is it June 1st?
I think so. Yeah, so 2 days from now. I think it's on Thursday.
NBA Finals. Yeah,
think it's the
June
first
the 1st at it doesn't give me a time. I'm assuming 8:30 because that's what they've always been. That's okay.
Yeah, 8:30.
Why are they putting these games at 8:30?
I don't know. All I know is it'll be 5:30 for me when I get there.
Yeah, I guess you're lucky in that regard.
I'm lucky in that regard. So.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like it makes a little bit of sense because you have Denver. I'm assuming Denver's a high seed, obviously, so they're gonna get home court advantage.
That's the other thing too. It's a 1 versus an 8 seed in the finals.
Yeah, the only other
That's
8
crazy.
seed before them was the New York Knickerbockers.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
In like
so-
99. I wonder how that series went.
I don't quite recall.
It's not good. Not good.
Oh, that's right.
The Kobe Bryant is looking down and smiling.
Yeah.
That was Kobe Bryant, right? I didn't just make an oopsie. I think it was because it was after Jordan, and that was when the Lakers.
Yeah.
This is how this works, right? Once one dynasty loses, another one takes its place. We're still waiting for the replacement for the Warriors.
I think you did make an oopsie, actually.
Oh no!
I think you're thinking Tim Duncan.
You're thinking who?
Tim Duncan is smiling.
Oh well, he's not
It's
dead.
the Spurs and the Knicks.
Wait, he's dead?
Well, he's not looking down smiling. He's just smiling
Oh,
because he's definitely watching this right now.
And now he's dead!
Tim Duncan. Somewhere in the greater San Antonio area. Just
Yeah,
dead.
1999 NBA Finals, Knicks versus Spurs.
That is the weirdest finals matchup to me.
It really is. And
I mean, like the Spurs are not cursed because they're one of the well-run franchises in the NBA.
yeah, the Spurs won in 5. Tim Duncan averaged 27, 14, and 2.
Man, his ball handling is fantastic.
Yeah, that's
I
right.
I agree.
It was.
I agree,
It
yeah.
was quite fantastic. Who would have known that a guy who was like 7'10" would be good at basketball?
Not me.
He always Tim Duncan always kind of dressed like just a regular dude, and that's what I kind of liked about him. It's like I think there's that picture of him and the old commissioner, the guy who's dead now.
Yeah.
Speaking of dead people,
Yeah.
I can't think of his name.
Who is the old commissioner? I don't even think I watched basketball.
David Stern.
That's right.
David Stern. And it's just like he's just wearing like a t-shirt and cargo pants, and he's got the MVP and the finals trophy. He's just like, just like Tim, show us a little bit of emotion, buddy. You know, can get a suit. You make $1 million just to play a game.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so you have the Nuggets winning this series. I would agree with that. I also have the Nuggets winning this series, which would be fun because the Nuggets, they never won it. Come on.
I know.
It's
And
so
Jokic.
crazy, that they've never won it. They've had so many.
Yep.
I mean, they had, what's his name? Carmelo for a little bit.
They did have Melo, yep.
They've had, now they got Jokic, and they've had other people, right? Didn't they have was it Chauncey Billups on their team for a little bit?
He was, yeah.
I think
Allen Iverson went there for a little bit.
He did?
Yeah, Allen Iverson played on the Nuggets for a little bit.
He played for
I
the
think he was
Pistons for a
actually-
year. We were a big fan of him.
There you go. Yeah. I think AI played when Carmelo Anthony was there.
How did they not win anything? I guess that was not prime AI.
It was close too. I mean, like 2000.
The question is, did he practice? Because if he didn't
I don't know.
practice, that would mean that he was prime.
That's what we have
But
to talk about.
if he did practice, that's how you know that AI is washed. 'Cause if he needed to
Exactly.
practice, things are not looking good.
Let's see. Allen Iverson.
I didn't know he played for Denver.
He got to the finals against the Lakers in 2001.
Who are like Denver's greats?
I don't
Just
know.
like a Denver Nuggets franchise, because I like how not franchise. Whatever. I guess that works. Who are their best players? Who the heck is Dan Issel? Am I dating myself right now? I don't know who Dan Issel is. Dan Issel?
Issel.
Alex
The only reason-
English?
Alex
I don't know any
English
of
is
these people.
he's a good player, but I only know these names because of playing 2K.
Okay.
That's literally the only reason. But
Who the
Allen
heck
Iverson
is-
played from
I'm sorry,
2006 to
Nene?
2008.
Nene?
Oh, Nene.
He
remember
doesn't
that
have a
guy.
last name.
Yeah. Nene.
He's just
You not remember that
Nene. It's bad when let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, your seventh best player is someone who averaged 11, 6, and 1 in their career.
Yeah.
Boy, they've been down bad for a while, man.
Yeah, I think Jokic is going to ultimately, especially when they win the finals, he's going to go down as the best Nuggets player ever.
He looks like a bank robber.
Yeah,
He looks like someone who, if they were at my door at
you would.
after 9:30 p.m., I'm
Yeah.
calling the police.
Well, they wouldn't be able to save you.
He'd get his brothers.
Yeah, he'd get his
What's the deal with
brothers.
that? He's got these brothers who are like mobsters or something.
Something like that. Remember, that's another thing too. Is part of the storyline, part of the lore. Is
Oh.
back in February, the Heat and the Nuggets had that whole brawl because
Oh,
I think it was Marcus or Markieff Morris, one of the Morris brothers. Jokic was going up for like a buzzer beater at half court,
okay.
and he like knocked him, and Jokic went up and like
Ooh.
pushed him in the back. Do you remember that?
No, I don't.
That would have been in like February, I think. So you
I
probably
probably don't remember that at all.
yeah.
I didn't.
That's
I missed this story.
That's interesting. So that's part
See,
of
in
the
my
lore.
mind, I'm just thinking it's like The Godfather. Like Jokic is like Michael
think-
Corleone, and like his
Well,
brothers are like the other
Exactly.
people.
Jokic could be Corleone.
Yeah,
We don't know.
He could be, but yeah. So I think it'll probably be. I'm gonna go with Nuggets in 5.
Okay.
And maybe I'll eat my words on that. Maybe Jimmy Butler's watching this and he's just gonna use it as a motivational tape. Hi, Heat Locker Room. Hi, hello. It's me. It's me.
Hello, everyone.
Can you share this video on your Twitter? That'd be great.
Yeah, we'd love that.
That'd be super.
Yeah.
So yeah, gonna be a good finals though. I
For
think
sure.
I think it'll be
It'll be-
competitive games. I just don't
Yeah.
think that the Heat will be able to overcome this, which is
They're
gonna be
not gonna
cool.
be able to
So
match Jokic.
be cool
Yeah.
to see a team that has never won it win it.
Yep.
But we got some other NBA stuff to talk about. Because your Milwaukee Bucks made a hire.
Yes.
They hired one Adrian Griffin
Correct.
as their head coach. Pulling up the
Mhm.
Bleacher Report article here.
Sure.
I have no idea who this person is. Seth, tell me why this is a good hire or why this is a bad hire. I
You
don't
know what, Mike? I'm kind of in that same boat, to be quite honest.
no
with
idea
you.
who this human being is.
Yeah, I didn't know he was a person, but I will say, I am glad, even though we did not get Nick Nurse, we got somebody who was alongside him. It seems, as he was a
Something like the Belichick
assistant.
tree of
something like
coaches.
that. Something like that. So,
Yeah,
to be quite honest
those
with
usually
you,
end up really well.
it is true. So I'm hoping because Nick Nurse is a good coach, that by that logic, that Adrian Griffin is good. But the thing is, like you, never heard of this guy before, so I can't give you my thoughts and opinions because I literally have no idea how this is going to be. I hope it's good, but we're gonna have to wait and see because. Yeah, never heard of Adrian Griffin until I saw the name when I got the notification that the Bucks hired Adrian Griffin. That was it.
So I'm just reading this article here.
Yeah.
Griffin served as an assistant for the Raptors from 2018-2019, so he was on that championship team.
Yep.
He also served as an assistant for the Bucks,
Yeah,
Chicago Bulls, Orlando Magic, and Oklahoma City Thunder during the earlier stages of his career. Before
Mhm.
becoming a coach, Griffin played 9 seasons in the NBA from 99 to 2008. He suited up for the Bulls,
Yep.
Celtics, Mavericks, Rockets, and Supersonics. Do you even remember that team, Seth?
I didn't watch basketball when the Supersonics were a thing, but I
Okay.
do know that name. Sean
they
Kemp, Gary
They
Payton.
played in Seattle. Kevin
That's right.
Durant was a Supersonic for 1
was,
year.
for a year.
See, this is what I want. What I want, because I used to love. I mean, I just thought they were a cool name, like the Supersonics, and they have like the cool classic jerseys. Like they made the finals in the 90s. They got blasted by Michael Jordan because everybody was.
Correct.
But it's like Hornets Anthony Davis.
Yeah.
It's kind of cursed, right?
A little bit.
Or
At
like
this point in time, yes.
Bobcats Kemba Walker.
Yeah, that's
Like,
weird.
you're not supposed to be on this team.
Yeah.
Why is this? This is gross.
Exactly.
Speaking of teams that need to, I miss the Bobcats.
Yeah.
I mean,
Charlotte
they were
Bobcats.
never good, but
No.
like I don't know. It's like now we got this whole confusion because here's the Hornets, right? Okay, so you got the old Charlotte Hornets. Okay,
Of course.
you follow me. Here's the old Charlotte Hornets.
There they are.
The old Charlotte Hornets. They said no more to Charlotte. They moved down. Let's move over here. They moved down to New Orleans, and then they're the New Orleans Hornets.
Correct.
And then at some point, Charlotte was like, "We want a basketball team," and so they were like, "Okay, we're gonna have the Charlotte Bobcats now because
Exactly.
New Orleans Hornets, and we can't do the Hornets anymore."
Yep.
Okay, And then the New Orleans Hornets are like, okay, actually, we don't want to be the Hornets anymore. We're going to be the Pelicans, which is a stupid name. Terrible name. Go back to being the Hornets. But Charlotte was like, hey, wait a minute. Well, we can be the Hornets. So the new Hornets are not actually the old Hornets. The old Hornets are the New Orleans Pelicans, who used to be from Charlotte but are now in New Orleans. But they were the New Orleans Hornets for a little bit, like Chris Paul. He was a New Orleans Hornet. And then they became the Pelicans, but the new Hornets are not the old Hornets. So the Bobcats, even though they're still in Charlotte, where the old Hornets used to be, but the old Hornets are now in New Orleans, and they're the Pelicans.
Now, everybody in YouTube world, you go like this when Mike is doing that.
Yeah. I love this stuff. This is my type of stuff. I love the Supersonic. You know, it's funny because Oklahoma City, they kept the records of the Supersonics, so they have the banner. I think of
they
the
do.
70.
Yeah, they do.
It's like, you guys aren't even the Supersonics anymore. It's a little weird, right? It'd be like, it's not like a Cleveland to Baltimore situation where they're just like, take the team, but we keep the records. It's just like, why would you do that? Why would you do that? Why would you?
That doesn't make sense.
I mean, it turned out to work out for them for the best.
It is true.
Maybe they should have taken that. I mean, that's why OKC has never won, because they wanted to double dip. They wanted to take the records of Seattle when they're not from Seattle. Are there any? This is unrelated, and we can move on to another topic. Just let me know. But are there any real Oklahoma City Thunder fans?
I don't know.
Who? Because it's not really a sports town, or
it's Oklahoma
or pro
City.
sports. You got
Oklahoma.
the Sooners or the Cowboys, Oklahoma State.
Yeah.
But basketball, I don't know.
I don't think so. To be quite honest with you, I think it's only Sooners fans out there.
Yeah. See, I'm from a sports town, so it makes I know what it's like, and when I hear the Oklahoma City Thunder, here come the hardcore Oklahoma City fan. It's like, who are these people?
Right.
It's like Seattle is a sports town.
Yeah.
Oklahoma City, not a sports town.
Mm-mm.
College sports, maybe, but I don't even know. Don't the Sooners don't even play in OKC? They play in Tulsa, or wherever. I don't know where they play.
Let's see.
They play not in OKC.
Yeah.
But I want to talk a little bit more also on a couple more coaching hires and also not coaching hires. Nick Nurse, your favorite candidate, got picked up by the Philadelphia 76ers. And this is kind of concerning for us Philadelphia 76ers haters because theoretically Nick Nurse is a good coach. Everybody says he's a good coach. And he's going to be entering into a team that needs some direction, that was under Doc Rivers. I could never get it done.
Well,
so it's going to be a big moment, I think, for Philly here because, obviously the whole Ben Simmons thing. Then you have Joel and James Harden dropping goose eggs in elimination games.
Yep.
And you also still have the rumors about Harden moving. I don't know if this affects it because he wanted Rivers out, but Joel was I guess good friends with Doc, which is takes one to know one.
Well,
and so I don't know. What do you think this is? Because I'm just sort of cynical about Philadelphia at this point that I think this is not going to work, or at the very least the roster is just not there, and they're going to come to a rude awakening because everybody's blaming the coaches and not the players.
Yeah.
But I'm curious what you think because you're more of a basketball man than me.
I think that it's a good hire for sure. But I think kind of what you brought up just now is something that I was thinking about is the roster itself.
Little Tyrese Maxey.
Yeah, I mean, I think Tyrese Maxey's a good player, but I mean, I'm thinking of the Sixers starting five is a good starting five in my opinion.
Oh man.
But
imagine if they would have kept Jimmy.
I know. That'd be crazy.
They could have had a starting five of Harden, Embiid, Jimmy, and Ben Simmons.
Yes.
He's gonna come.
Good
back.
old Ben Simmons.
He's coming back.
He's coming back. That's what they're trying to say. But yeah, I mean, you get to the bench unit of Philadelphia, and I just think it's they need to do some updates for sure. They need to bring people in. They need to move pieces around, in my opinion, because Although I
They
do think
have
Nick
something
Nurse.
to make a trade, but the problem, I mean, you're
Yeah.
just being a bench guy. I don't know that you would really need to make a big trade for that, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, I think it's something to look at in free agency. You look at the pieces that you need
Mm.
and you try and just sort that out and kind of hope because I mean they have like pieces kind of on the bench, but they need more for what they have.
They got PJ Tucker.
I think he starts.
Oh, does he?
I think so. I
He's
think
like
it's
1,000 years old. You don't have another
know.
fifth guy who can start.
Yeah, I think it's
Alright.
like I think their starting lineup in the playoffs was Harden, Maxey, Tobias, PJ Tucker, and Joel Embiid, which I don't think is an awful starting five. I think it's
No,
pretty
it's not.
good.
I mean, they consistently make the playoffs. Certainly not a bad team.
But
I know bad teams, believe me.
well, I'm not going to comment on that. But yeah, I think that's kind of like what you said. I think the hiring of Nick Nurse is definitely a great decision
Mhm.
by the front office, but they're going to have to move pieces around, I think, to actually get like over the hump of, moving on past the second round.
Yeah, and then the other thing too is, it isn't just the second round that they should be having aspirations for. I mean, like,
Yeah.
I look at like the Toronto Maple Leafs in the NHL. Like, I
Mhm.
feel like they kind of got past the first round. They were like, "We did it! We finally
it.
did it! 2 decades we never done." And I don't know. I don't know
That's
what to do.
it.
I didn't think I would get this far. I don't know what to do. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
and that's just sort of how I feel about Philly at this point. It's like, yeah, okay, whatever. Maybe you'll make it past the second round. Big whoop. I mean, like,
Yeah. Yeah.
then maybe you'll find a new way to lose, and then we're just like you're just like in a hamster wheel of sucking, and like maybe things roll your way, but probably not. Like probably you're gonna like find a new way to lose.
Exactly. And
Which
I think
sucks because I don't hate Joel. I know I posted
like
that
him.
video that the Sixers are born losers, which is still true. I still think they're born losers.
Well,
but it's like I don't really. Philly as an organization just doesn't really strike a whole lot of confidence in me. It's a lot it's similar to how I feel about Detroit.
well,
It's like, yeah, sure. Like I got to deal with Pistons fans sometimes, and Pistons fans, they love their team.
which
but
hey,
God bless them, man.
That. Yeah.
If I
God
got to
bless.
see another we're gonna draft Cam Whitmore, and this whole thing is gonna be no. First of all, even if Cam Whitmore is good, he's not. He's like 19 or like 20. Like he's not going to be able. Who is he defending
down the road?
Who in the NBA is Cam Whitmore going to defend? Because that was our biggest problem last year. We had no defense, and I can assure you, 20-year-old Jalen Duren is not going to be Defensive Player of the Year. Like he could be in the future, like
but not
4
now.
or 5 years from now.
That's the thing.
But then we're just in a cycle, and you got to
Yeah.
pay some of these guys. We'll get into it. We'll get into it.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Nick
mean,
Nurse,
I think
good
it's a great
hire
trade.
on paper.
Yes.
Is Philadelphia actually a serious contender? I don't really know. They have not given me a reason to believe that. And especially if you lose James Harden, obviously no shows in the playoffs, but he does help with seeding.
Correct.
Right? He does help with the regular season.
He does, yes.
And he is theoretically, statistically speaking, a good player.
Yes.
But I don't know.
But it's
it's like it would be kind of funny if he forced the coach out and he's like, actually, I'm gonna leave too.
Yeah. He's like,
I mean,
I'm going
I can't
back to
stand
Houston.
him. Like
I'm
as a
going back to
player, he's just. I mean, he just like he almost had a redemption arc for me because he did that thing for the MSU student. I was like, oh, maybe James Harden isn't so bad, and then he just did the James Harden thing, and I'm just like, I don't like you anymore. Why are you like this, James? Why do you do this? You just you raise me up to believe in you.
Yep.
And he just does nothing. Speaking of raising me up and doing nothing,
well,
I got a headline here. This article from about a week ago.
Yep.
Pistons rumors. Monty Williams appears to have declined a quote big money offer for head coaching job. So this was like the saddest story because it's like it literally like we've made jokes. This is probably it's like hey this is Troy Weaver from the Detroit Pistons. Monty,
how you doing?
It's dead.
I think I dropped my phone somewhere.
It's just like it's just so sad. It's so sad.
I'm telling you.
Scoring runs. Miguel Cabrera just scored from second base on a little bloop. How did maybe hit the treadmill?
Maybe that's what it is.
All tied up at 4 now. It's quite the
There
sheet.
you go.
Got going out and
Let's
down.
see what the
And not the ordinary shootouts.
exactly. Yeah.
All right, no, it's not.
No,
Come on,
guys.
people. It's not that. All right.
It's just a joke.
Yeah.
Not really.
You suck.
Okay.
Not really.
It's not very
But
nice.
it's fine.
So, but anyways, before we get off track, I mean, like, okay, they went out and they tried to hire Monty Williams, which
hey,
at
props
least
to you
tells
guys.
me like
yes.
they can identify a good coach.
That's
right?
good. Well, yeah,
It
I
means
think
like they're like,
that's
okay,
definitely a
we
big
want to
thing.
get a good coach. This is a guy with
Yeah.
a big reputation, obviously influential in the development of Chris Paul in New Orleans. Hey, it all comes back.
Well, yeah.
Like he's a basketball man. Everybody likes him. I don't
For
know
sure.
what Matt Ishbia is thinking in firing him, but whatever. Don't stop your enemy while they're making a mistake.
Exactly.
But he just said no. He doesn't
Yeah.
want our money. And it goes
No.
back to what we talked about in some of our Pistons stuff. Like, nobody wants to coach this team.
Yep.
Nobody wants to play for this team. And it's not like, we're contending or we
No.
have like something where it's like, okay, whatever. All these people, they don't want to play for, fine. We'll get somebody and we'll just prove everybody wrong. It's like, no, we're going to win 25 games next year.
Well,
if we're lucky. Like,
I
I don't know. I mean, like, if Cade can stay healthy and Ivy and Duran and, whoever,
Stay in a perfect
whatever
world.
ended up happening in this offseason.
Yeah.
I see you, Dylan Brooks. Like, that's still like 25, maybe 30. I mean,
Yeah.
you win 30 games. Okay. All right. Maybe we got something here. Maybe Cade's averaging,
Mm-hmm.
close to 25 a game or something. Something where you're like, oh,
Something crazy.
Cade's like an all-star. Or
Yeah.
like Ivy is like, I don't know, averaging close to 20 a game.
Yeah.
Duran is averaging like a block and a steal a game. Something crazy, right? Like something where I can absolutely say it's like, oh, okay, we actually have a development
That's
system.
something.
And I can trust in these draft, like similar to like OKC, right?
Yeah.
Because obviously that's where Weaver came from.
Correct.
So if he's bringing that to us, right, you don't have to like OKC is like, well, it doesn't really matter if we can't land a free agent because we still have Chet, which who knows if he's going to be good. He probably is going to be a decent player. I mean, you're like 7'5".
As long as he doesn't get injured. Yeah.
Yeah, right. As long as he doesn't get injured, if you're
Again.
that tall, you're probably going to be a decently productive player.
I think so.
And then obviously Shai Gilgeous-Alexander
Yep.
and a few other guys whose names escape me.
Well-
And then whatever they end up doing this year, which they could trade up, they could, like they have so much capital. And it's like,
They really do.
What have we been doing where we just have nothing essentially? Like we don't have any
Detroit.
picks to trade other than the number 5 pick and nobody wants it. And
Mhm.
this is a point that I've heard, like people are like, oh, you could just trade it. It's like, okay, here's the thing, right?
For what?
If you're trading that pick, you're telling the person you're trading with, you don't want the pick, right? So
Correct.
essentially you have to kind of sell them that this pick is actually not
you know.
that bad,
Yeah.
right? Or like you have to package it with something. It's like when you trade a bad player, right? So
Yeah,
like
you don't want them, but you gotta.
yeah, you
make
have to eat
the
the
other
bad
stuff.
contract, right?
Exactly,
Like,
yeah.
just recently, the Lions, right? They take on Jared Goff, who had, at the time, a bad contract. Obviously, we could talk a little bit more about Jared Goff during football season. But, the idea was, okay, we'll give you these first-round picks.
Yeah.
But you're going to have to take Jared Goff. And we're going to get your quarterback. How about that?
But
Like, but it's like, it's the same thing with the NBA, at least or any sport league. It's like you're trading.
Yeah.
You have to give them something. Like usually trades are not one-way steals.
make it look
Usually
nice.
there's some. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're a good GM, you can occasionally get a steal, right?
Yeah.
I mean, like,
yeah,
it happens, but
they're few and far between for sure. But
yeah.
it can
And
happen.
The other thing about this whole Monty Williams thing is
Uh-huh.
I don't know if I put this in the show notes. It doesn't look like I did. What's his name? Our good friend Kevin Ollie.
Yes.
He had posted something on his Instagram. I don't know
Uh-huh.
if this got around to your circles.
Probably not.
But he posted something on Instagram to the effect of, thank you to the Overtime Elite for all the time. And it's like, oh no. Oh no. But like that was like last Friday, I think.
But
So it's like it's been a while. And the thing
he's
is
just trying to see how much money he can get.
right. Well, the other thing though is, with the Sixers filling that job,
Yeah.
the jobs available now for Monty Williams are actually a lot smaller, right? Like he still has the Raptors job as an option. The Wizards, do they have a head coach?
I don't know. I want to say that they
Hired a GM.
Yeah. I don't think they hired a coach.
So, I mean, that's an option. I feel like, how would you? I don't know why you picked the Wizards over the Pistons. I mean, I get it record wise, but like from an upside perspective, like the Wizards are going to be worse.
Yeah.
Sooner than the Pistons are, at least theoretically.
Yeah, I mean, really, all that Washington has is just Porzingis and Bradley Beal.
Oh, really, really working up the confidence.
Yeah, well, it's that versus you get kind of what you're saying is like the upside
you got a young
of Detroit.
core of
Yeah.
I say a young core, and it's like, look, I really don't want to be mean about it, but like our young core went 16 and 47 or whatever the number was. That's not true.
It's
you know what I mean. We won
yeah.
we won 16 games with our young core. Like,
out of 82.
And I get it. It's young, right? They're not going to win a lot of games. And, obviously you had multiple guys that have been drafted by us that have been all rookies, either first or second team. Cade Cunningham was the rookie all-star game MVP, I think. Not that really means anything, but you know what I mean.
But still.
Like, it's like the NBA, I think, or at least the players, I don't really know if the league generally recognizes Cade. I mean, like, I remember his rookie year,
sure.
I remember KD talking about how he liked his game, and I don't know if LeBron said anything. I mean, he was too busy trying to murder Isaiah Stewart, and then also trying to avoid getting murdered by Isaiah Stewart. But like, the players have recognized that there are some players that can be good. And look,
absolutely,
you pick Cade Cunningham first overall. He's got to be not a star. He's got to be a superstar. He's got to be the face of the team. Like, and obviously big shoes to fill. The Pistons really haven't had a superstar since like the 80s.
I was gonna say, not in
Ben Wallace was not a superstar. Chauncey Billups was not a superstar. And like, I know some people, we've won without that, right? Yeah, that's true. But you basically have to be like Joe Dumars level of genius as a GM, where you're just making you're picking up pieces that nobody wanted and just like, all right, these pieces work well together because I know how the game works and I know how to maximize the potential of all of these guys and just create this like Frankenstein's monster of an NBA champion, which was what the 2004 Pistons were.
Pretty much.
When you really look at it. I mean, like, you look at Rip Hamilton, not really much of a player. Outside of like, the years, he was a good play. He was fine, and Tayshaun Prince was fine, and Chauncey Billups was good. He was probably like at the time maybe like a top 15 player. Maybe I don't know if that's going too far. Ben Wallace, one of the best defensive players of all time, obviously a Hall of Famer. He was probably the best overall player on that team.
Right.
But then you had Rasheed Wallace and Darvin Ham. You know what I mean? It's like you had just kind of guys. Like they were just like thrown together and it worked.
Yeah, and that's how it was back in that era of basketball.
Yeah, back
like
in the early 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I don't know. I was disappointed, but I was like, okay, you know what? At least we tried. And I don't even know if that's like he's still technically out there. And Coach Bud is still out there.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I'm not. If we end up hiring Kevin Ollie, then it's like, okay, well, nobody wanted to come here. Basically, that would be my assumption. Nobody that Troy Weaver thought was a good basketball mind for this team wanted to come here. So this is the next best thing. Yeah. It's like, okay, well, all right. I guess if that's if that's the state of this team, then that's what it is, and we might be rebuilding for like another couple of years, and that sucks. 10 or 40 or I will die before I see another NBA Finals.
Correct.
Which is wonderful.
Yeah.
But Seth, there was a monumental thing that happened this year.
Really?
In Pistons history.
Wow.
It has been 15 years since the Detroit Pistons have won a playoff game.
Wow. Now,
I know what you're thinking in the comments. You mean like a series, right? Like, cause obviously they didn't win in 2018. No, I mean a game in a series. It has been 15 years since that has happened. So, in honor of this great achievement, I have created 15 things that were a thing 15 years ago.
Very nice.
We need some music here. We need something to set the
mood.
Acoustic cinema? What does this sound like? Ooh,
I think that's what we go with because
I kind of like this.
Let's be honest,
it's like ancient history.
You might start crying on camera too.
Yeah, this is great. So 15 years ago, so first things first, I was about 8 years old. Seth was not born at this point. He was.
Depending on who you ask.
That's right.
Yeah.
I put here I was in second grade, which was true in the first half, right? Because like school year was ending, and that's probably when the playoffs were happening. Also, just as far as in case anybody wants to be a big fact-checking nerd, no, I didn't totally I don't know if these things happened before the Pistons won their game or after. I just sort of did things that were 15 years ago. I just Googled 2008 and then looked at things on Wikipedia and then was like, oh, that's kind of fun.
Yeah.
So 2008, Barack Obama would win the presidency, defeating John McCain that year, and would be the Time Person of the Year. That was his first term, by the way, for all the youngins, by the way.
Yes.
That was his first term.
The
top 3 grossing films. This is really going to be unfortunate. The Dark Knight.
That's a great movie.
Fantastic movie. Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
Okay, not as good.
Not a great movie.
And
Kung Fu Panda.
Wow, that's a great movie.
15 years ago. Kung
crazy.
Fu Panda was in theaters when the Pistons last won a playoff game.
That's insane.
I mean, I don't know if that totally lines up, but it is that year Kung Fu Panda came out.
Wow, that's crazy.
This one is gonna actually hurt.
Okay.
Physically. Some of the notable video game releases of that year. Grand Theft Auto 4. Not 5. 4.
Wow.
BioShock.
Oh.
No, not BioShock 3. Not Infinite. Not 2. BioShock. The first one.
Wow.
And this one hurt on levels I cannot express. Super Smash Bros. Brawl.
Really?
15 years ago.
Wow.
The Nintendo Wii.
Yeah. That's insane.
Absolute pain.
Wow.
Some of the other things, some notable TV show releases. So I did this not based on how good the shows were, but just shows that I remember watching or I remember being on.
Yeah.
This is totally, I have just an assortment of lists. So we have Bakugan Battle Brawlers.
Okay.
So this was a anime that was on Cartoon Network.
Yep.
For people who don't know what Bakugan is, it was these little magnetic. Do you even know what Bakugan is?
Yeah, I had them growing up.
Okay. There were these little magnet spheres or shapes or whatever, and you put them on these magnet cards, and they'd be little
out.
transformers.
Yeah.
There was apparently a game involved, and there was the TV show. I never really watched the TV show. Did you watch the TV show?
I played the game though.
I have no idea. How do you play the game? I just remember we would be in summer camp and just throw them on the thing, and then I don't know, the dragon wins because that's what happens in the TV show.
Yeah, I don't even remember how you play the game. I just remember playing it in elementary school.
We were a Yu-Gi-Oh family, and by Yu-Gi-Oh family I mean me.
Yeah.
And my brother for a little bit.
But,
Ben 10 Alien Force.
That's a good
show. So this was not the original Ben 10 with little kid Ben.
Yeah.
This was time skip Ben. But the first one, not there were several. This was the first time skip one, I guess.
Okay.
1,000 Ways to Die. Have you ever heard of the show?
No.
Okay, so 1,000 Ways to Die was on Spike. It was basically this, honestly, kind of pseudo masochistic.
Oh.
It was you would basically there would be these stories of people who have died in really crazy ways. So there was a story of someone who. So this one is. Oh, this is gonna get me demonetized and or embarrassed in the future when someone inevitably finds this footage.
Correct.
So there was an episode where I don't even know if I really want to say this. Whatever, we're already too deep in. There was an episode where there was a let's try to use our words carefully. There was a group of adult females, and these females, they were running a car wash.
Yeah.
And these females, they didn't really have like a normal occupation.
Sure.
Right? Like they were like like dancers, like kind of like dancers of a certain persuasion
style.
we'll say.
Yeah.
So these ladies,
Sure.
did we just hit a home run? Andy Ibanez just hit a home run. What? Oh, we're losing 7-4. Well, now 7-5. Fantastic.
well.
Anyways, so these ladies, so we're really getting into this. These ladies were running a car wash or whatever, and some, this is in the episode. I don't know how real this was exactly, but in the episode, this gentleman with a large car, like he was like, oh, why don't you wash my car, ladies? And they're, doing things, and they're, some water's getting, because when you wash a car, some water gets on you, and I guess they were holding hands at some point. I don't really know what the point of that was, but they were holding hands at some point, and some sort of electrical wire fell into the water, and it electrocuted all of them and killed them instantly.
Wow. That sounds like a real doozy of a show right there.
That was one episode of the show.
Wow.
And it's a wonder how I remember that particular episode.
I'm not going to comment on that.
But that is the one episode I remember. I'm sure if people are in the comments of this event inevitably will be posted as a clip. Post your favorite 1000 Ways to Die episode, or don't. I honestly would prefer you don't. But if I can't control you, okay?
Yeah.
You can do what you please.
It's a free country.
Yeah. Anyways, other notable shows.
Yes.
The Marvelous Misadventures of Flapjack. Do you remember this show?
No.
The cartoon?
Mm-mm.
Oh man, it was like this. I mean, it was a cartoon with like this little kid. He lived on like a pier, essentially, and there was like kind of these wacky characters. The animation was really odd. You had him. He was living in a whale, and the whale was like his mom, I guess, essentially.
Interesting.
And he's like tagging along with this like pirate guy. And it's just like they just go into these crazy weird adventures, and there's all these crazy characters. It's really an odd show. It was in that same era of Cartoon Network with like Chowder. I don't know if you remember that show. It's like that
Chowder.
era of like where they were just like, I don't know what to do. We're just literally anything as long as it's weird. And so that was that era. This one also got me. Wipeout.
Oh.
That came out in 2008. The original Wipeout. There's still, I think, a Wipeout now, but it's probably terrible and totally unfunny.
Probably.
But back in the day, this show was hilarious. I used to watch it with my dad, because I think it was on, like, Sunday evenings or maybe Friday. It was some day where, I guess it was on in the summer at that point, and we were able to watch it. And it was just, it was basically, for people who don't know what Wipeout is, it's basically just obstacle course where you have these grown adults try to maneuver it, and inevitably most of them just fail. And the idea is like if you win, you get like, I don't know, $1 million. I don't know how much money it was.
It's something like that.
It wasn't $1 million, but it was enough money to where you could get enough people to like do it. And one of the infamous obstacles were these red rubber balls essentially, and all you got to do is run across them. And I don't think I ever saw. I think maybe 1 or 2 people got through it.
Yeah.
Like it was always just like they'd get to like past like 2, and then they just wipe out.
And then they wipe out.
And I don't know how like scripted it was in any way.
Yeah.
But, like
hard to say.
I don't know. It was a fun show. Go watch old Wipeout clips.
Exactly.
And the last one I have here on the list is The Sweet Life on Deck, which was the sequel series to Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, where they were on the cruise ship. I watched that a lot as a kid, so it's like, oh, great, good to know.
Yeah.
Some of the highest charted singles of that year, Whatever You Like by T.I. You know, the You Can Have Whatever You Like, that song. And Low by Flo Rida and T-Pain.
That is an old song.
Yeah, it is.
That's, wow.
Yeah, that was the first time we were greeted with the term apple bottom jeans.
And boots with the fur.
And boots with the fur. That is.
Yeah.
Some other things, some of the Apple products of that time, the iPod Touch and the MacBook.
I had one of those. Yeah, I had an
MacBook
iPod
Air,
Touch.
I should say. So those were some of the big big sellers in 2008 for Apple there.
Yeah.
We also have, obviously, because it's a sports show, we got to run some sports stuff.
course.
So that year would be the infamous year for the Detroit Lions. They would go 0-16 with Dan Orlovsky as their starting quarterback for, I think, most of the games. They had a few starting quarterbacks, obviously. But they would go 0-16 that year. And then that following draft would get Matthew Stafford and the rest is history.
Correct.
The Detroit Red Wings would win the Stanley Cup that year.
Very
The
nice.
last one to date, helped by Captain Nicholas Lindstrom, one of the great defensemen of all time. This one was very shocking. Miguel Cabrera has his first season with the Tigers.
Really?
Yeah, he was traded, obviously, to the Tigers from the Florida Marlins, then the Florida Marlins.
Well, yeah.
And obviously, his career is what it is. One of the all-time great power hitters. Won the Triple Crown in 2012. And he's up to bat right now. I think, did he just get hit by a pitch? No, he didn't. He just just took a ball. But he's up to bat right now. So it's ironic, right? 15 years, and now he's in his last season.
Wow.
Crazy.
Thanks, Miggy.
Yeah. And your San Diego Chargers, then San Diego Chargers, they would have an 8-8 record that year and win their division under quarterback Phillip Rivers, who was in his 5th year with the Chargers.
Yep.
I just want to get your reaction. You are winning that division with an 8-8 record. That could literally never happen now. It's not like
impossible.
Not in that division now. I mean, like,
no.
You wouldn't get a wild card. Oh, Miggy just hit a double. Look at Miggy. He's on a roll.
Good job, Miggy.
Score. It's about to be a 1-run ball game. Throw to the play, not in time. Oh man, we got a ball game. 7-6 Rangers on top, but the Tigers are knocking on the door. I can't believe this is such a high-scoring game.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe Miggy was due for actually getting hits. It's amazing.
Yeah, maybe. Well.
This one is also very concerning.
Okay.
So, little MSU stuff.
Ooh.
Kirk Cousins was on MSU's roster.
Of course.
Though at that point he was sitting behind Brian Hoyer. The Spartans that year would finish with a 9-4 record under head coach Mark D'Antonio. Brian Hoyer, I think, is still in the league.
Okay.
I think he started a few games with the Patriots last year.
That sounds right, actually.
I think he did.
You're correct about that.
I don't know if any team has re-signed him. I don't know what the deal is right now, but
yeah,
as stands, both those guys still in the league.
There.
Obviously, Kirk Cousins was not the MSU legend that he is now.
Correct.
Because he didn't really start many games.
Yep.
I don't even know if he did start any games, but yeah, Kirk Cousins was at MSU last time the Pistons won a playoff game. So.
Yeah, it's crazy.
This one is also very sad. MSU basketball would win the Big Ten that year. And this would be the 2008-2009 season. So
correct.
Like that following basketball season.
Right.
Do you know who was on that roster?
Why don't you
One
tell me?
Draymond Green was on that roster.
Yep.
They would have a 31-7 record and lose the national championship that year to the University of North Carolina.
Yes.
I don't know who's on that team. I didn't look that up. Probably somebody who's notable. The MLB MVPs that year, Albert Pujols from the National League, then on the St. Louis Cardinals, and Dustin Pedroia from the Boston Red Sox. Pujols last year just had his final season with the Cardinals, actually.
Yeah.
He played for a few teams at that point, but an Angels legend. Do you have a lot of LA Angels fans back at home?
I do, yeah.
Do they have what's their opinion on one Albert Pujols? I can't imagine they're big fans.
Probably not. Have you seen the clip of the announcer saying Pujols is retarded, but he meant to say retired?
Yeah, Pujols is retarded. We need to get that as a drop.
Pujols is retarded. Yeah, that's probably how most Angels fans think now.
That's probably right. And then finally, the NFL MVP that year was Peyton Manning. Obviously retired at this point. But that was 15 years ago today in Pistons lore. So
how very nice.
Yeah, I thought that was nice.
What a nice little segment.
Yeah, I hate it here. I truly
thank you, the city of Detroit and the state of Michigan.
I truly hate it here.
Yeah.
Do you want to talk about these NHL playoffs for a little bit? Talk about this situation. So we got two teams that have never won a Stanley Cup in the cup.
Yeah,
Isn't that fun? That's fun. So the
pretty cool.
Panthers sweep, bring out the brooms. They sweep the Eastern Conference Finals, and the Golden Knights. They kind of gave the stars were a little. I was like, oh no, we're not doing this. I was like, please don't have no Stanley Cup matchup by the next show. Like, I don't want to have to be like, well, I don't know, are the Golden Knights gonna pull off the win here, and then just like, oh, I guess like, okay, we got it. It's cool, awesome, great. So
exactly.
as far as who I think is gonna win this, because I don't know how much you've been following these playoffs.
Not too much.
I've been loving the Panthers. The Knights are a fun team too. They score a lot of goals, obviously, in their last game, 6-0. They annihilated them. I'm not sure. I'm sure one of those was probably an empty. I don't even know, because they were winning 3-0 in the first period. I was like, oh, this is just over. Like, that was what I was so disappointed, because you had the game 7 for the Celtics that was on, and that game was a blowout, and you had game 6, which was also a blowout. I was like, this sucks.
Yeah,
both elimination games, total blowouts. All right, but it's gonna be pretty cool though. I mean, we have a potential of 2 teams in 2 different leagues winning their first title.
Yeah.
You got the Nuggets. Obviously it's a 50-50 shot, theoretically. But in this case, we will see a new champion in the Stanley Cup, and it could be an expansion team. Well, they're both technically expansion teams, but
still,
the Knights, a relatively new expansion team.
Yeah.
And this is something that I wanted to kind of hear your input on, just as far as expansion teams go, because you have the Golden Knights, who have been basically Stanley Cup contenders pretty much every year they've been around.
Yeah.
The Seattle Kraken obviously made big noise this year.
Yeah.
And I was wondering, what do you think of these expansion teams that just sort of immediately come into success? Because obviously you and I are fans of teams that are relatively, I mean, Lions are older than the Chargers, but teams that are pretty old, that have gone through, let's say, some bad times, and to just see some new team come in. Wow, this is easy. You guys are crazy. We can just win championships. Yeah. And there's like a part of me that's like, no, you have to struggle a little bit. But then I'm like, well, is that really fair? Like, I mean, they're just a new team. Like, they obviously they get the expansion draft, so they're essentially just taking players from other teams that they like. Obviously there's some protections and stuff, but you get what I'm saying. And I was just wondering, like, is there an acceptable amount that a team must suck until you're like, okay, now you can win?
I don't know. I kind of agree with that, I guess, but at the same time, I don't. I mean, it's all kind of the luck of the draw stuff, but I mean, I think it kind of works out with, you brought up the Knights and then the Kraken, obviously having good seasons for being relatively. Obviously, the Golden Knights could win a Stanley Cup in their first seasons being around.
They could have won. That was another time that it was 2 teams that I think had never won. I think the Capitals at that point had never won a Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and I mean, it's like you could start out like that, but who's to say, like, in a couple years down the road they're not,
Yeah, I guess that's
down
true.
the mud.
It's like they could be just terrible. I mean, like, I think
It's
the
possible,
other thing too, though, is expansion teams of like that old era of like the 90s and 80s. Like, I think at that point there wasn't as much available information as far as like, not that they didn't know like what made a successful team, but it was like they didn't have analytics. They didn't have like information that's constantly available to them. They would have to like rely upon like, essentially just like box scores, right? Like,
pretty much. Yeah.
Like, it was like, oh, I don't know, this guy's like, he got 40 points this year. I don't know, he should be okay. Whereas like now it's like, okay, we can, obviously they had like details about their physical size, their height and their weight and everything, but you didn't necessarily have like, oh, like, how does this guy play in, I don't know, like high leverage situations or something, like, or there's some sort of weird analytical stat that you can be like, okay, I can see how I can scheme my way into building a successful team, and nobody's really going to see it coming. Like there's something to that. And the other thing though is like with hockey, it's like it really is just kind of like a get into the playoffs league, and anything can happen. I mean, the Panthers are an 8 seed. Like they were a wild card team, and they look like the best team in the East. Well, they are the best team in the Eastern Conference. And the Knights, I mean, not that nobody paid them any mind, but I don't think people were like, people were really picking them to win the Western Conference.
Right.
But it's like, I wonder if this sort of thing could happen in the NBA or in the NFL or in the MLB,
Yeah, I don't know.
because
That's kind of
I
a
mean,
tough
like,
call.
for one, like, your roster is smaller
Yes.
in comparison. Like, MLB, you have the largest roster because you got, what is it, 26 guys? Yeah, 26 guys, and then you got your 40-man roster. And basketball, I think actually basketball is the same amount, maybe a little bit lower. Because what is it, 11 guys on a roster?
I think it's
'Cause
like
you got,
15.
you're starting 5. Is it 15? Okay.
I think somewhere it's like 10 to 15.
Okay,
or
yeah,
11
like
to
that
15.
range. I think that's about the same with hockey. And then football is, what is it?
48.
48? Yeah. So like
Something like
football,
that.
you have your biggest roster, which makes some sense. Given
Yeah.
like, you want to have a deep roster for
Might
injuries
even be
and
more
all
than
that
that.
stuff. But I just like, it does bother me a little bit, because here's the thing, right?
The 55-man roster in the NFL. Just wanted
That's
to
right.
clarify that.
I should have. That's like a known thing, but whatever.
Whatever.
It's like, I think it especially bothers me, and I guess it would in turn kind of bother you, because both of our teams are rebuilding right now, and
Yeah.
that sort of has its own pace, right? And whereas if you got an expansion draft, it's like, well,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, it's not like the league is just tapered with talented players that, if you put them together, are going to be much better than, say, in the
Right.
90s or 70s or 80s, where you only had, I mean, you had it was probably like a lower percentage of guys that, if you put them together, would make a really solid team.
Yeah.
Like, the ceilings were pretty much, I mean, close to the same, in terms of like, you had like those guys who were just automatic superstar level talents at that point.
And then
But
you
like,
had
those are the guys that were getting protected, right? Like, it wasn't
Yeah.
like
Oh, yeah, no, they're not going
the
anywhere.
Kraken were not able to take Connor McDavid from the Oilers, right?
Yes.
But they were
Yes.
able to take, some other guys. And then obviously they got Matty Beniers, who has been excellent for them as a rookie. Really, I mean, you get lucky in a good draft, and
That's really all you need.
and it's just like,
Yeah.
it sucks, but like, every team is kind of different. The Red Wings entered into their rebuild in a much different situation.
Yeah.
The Ducks, different situation. And when you're in an expansion team, it's like, well, it can just be a perfect storm, or it could also just kind of be recency bias. Like,
Yeah.
we've
That's
had
another
two
thing too.
teams
Yeah.
that were both expansion teams that were pretty good out of the gate. The Kraken, they weren't good their first year, but they were
But
like,
still.
I mean, the following year, obviously, they really took off. But like, I wonder if perhaps we are just kind of having a sense of recency bias, where,
And that could be the thing.
it's like, they're not actually, expansion teams are just getting lucky twice in a row.
And like I said, I think that's a very real possibility, because I don't think, like, who's to say that, like I said, in a couple years, they're not down in the mud with teams that are having to rebuild or something like that. So
Yeah, because in my mind, I just instinctually am like, oh yeah, Vegas doesn't have depth, but it's like, no, but they do, though. Like, how?
Yeah.
Like, they've only been
Yeah.
in the league for like,
For-
I guess at this point, like 7 years. But like,
yeah, I mean, I guess that's
like,
a while.
theoretically, you would have depth at that point. But like the Kraken, it's like,
Yeah.
you've been in the league for 2 years. How do you even have a system? Like,
And then
it's
they're
a-
already they're making noise.
yeah, they were. I mean, they were pretty close. They could have made the conference finals. But yeah, I thought it was an interesting
Yeah.
little talking point for the NHL.
Yeah. I think so.
I think you're gonna have to watch these Stanley Cup finals here. So
I'm gonna have to try and figure out how to watch those. Yeah.
They're on ESPN and I think
Hmm.
TNT, depending on the night. I don't know if they're doing both, or I'm assuming it, because they're not on the same nights as the NBA. So I think
Yeah.
it's like
Like a
when the
flip-flop.
NBA is on,
Yeah,
because the NBA is always on ESPN for the finals, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay, so then maybe they might both just be on the finals anyway.
Well,
But
I have
either
access
way.
to ESPN, so
There
I'll
you
have
go.
to, I'll have to
There you
watch.
go. Yeah, should be some fun. I think you'll have some pretty good matchups. It'll be some high scoring as
Yeah.
well, because Vegas, they score a lot of goals, so it'll be probably
Yes,
pretty
they do.
exciting.
Yeah.
So yeah. Speaking of exciting things,
Yes.
I want to actually before we get to exciting things, because the
Ooh.
Tigers are on, I want to
Of
do a little
course.
baseball talk. about this news that we got today.
Yes.
And I got like, I had like a feeling of like a sinking, like, let's try to think of like the worst feelings.
Being
Like-
a Detroit sports fan.
Yes.
I can go on.
Think he'd commit suicide or something.
Right, Terry.
Yeah.
I read this. Well, first I was just sort of chatting in one of the Detroit Tigers Discord servers, just like people were just kind of talking or whatever. I was just reading at work because it was kind of a slower day at work.
Yep.
And he's like, "Oh no, bad news, guys!" And he posts this tweet from @DetroitTigersPR.
Ooh.
This is one of two. I'm not going to read the second one because it's not really that important. The Tigers announced the following roster moves. Placed left-handed pitcher Eduardo Rodriguez on the 15-day injured list. Left index finger pulley rupture, retroactive to May 29th, which was yesterday.
Correct.
And also placed outfielder Matt Feeling in 10-day whatever. I don't really care much about that.
Man.
Our best trade asset.
Yep.
Nobody saw it coming. I didn't see it coming. I thought we were stuck with this guy. We had a chance. We could have traded him. We could have gotten a haul. And left index finger pulley rupture. I don't even know what is that.
Never heard of it.
What is a index
We're gonna ask Google.
finger pulley? The pulleys create efficient Okay, here's a picture. I like pictures. I don't know what any of this is. I don't know what any of this is. Apparently, it looks like it's like you have several pulleys in your finger. Like
all
so
these?
here's all these little areas on your finger, I guess, up to your like this around here, I guess. These are all pulleys. So apparently on his left hand, which is his throwing hand, obviously he's a left-handed pitcher.
Yep.
It ruptured. I don't know what that means exactly.
I don't know how that works. Whatever. I'm not a doctor.
The thing is, it says 15-day IL, but it's not really 15-day IL. It's 15 days, and then we'll check if he's okay.
Yes.
Because I heard something earlier that this could be up to like 6 weeks.
Ooh. Hello.
Which is basically up into the trade deadline.
Yeah.
Potentially past it. Which is already terrible because if you're trading a pitcher or if you're trading a starting pitcher at the trade deadline, you're already going to get less for him because they just get less time with this pitcher.
Correct.
Because he's only starting 1 out of every 5 days. And now you add this injury. So if he comes back before and pitches fine, no harm, no foul.
That is fine.
No, we don't even remember this.
Nope. But
problem is we're talking about an injury to his throwing hand. If it was to his fielding hand or even to his foot or something, okay, whatever. It probably isn't going to affect his pitching. But now, I mean, like, that's how you grip the ball. That's how you throw pitches. It's your fingers. And if he comes back and he sucks, well, then he's not going to want to opt out of his contract.
Correct.
So then we're stuck with him for the rest of the contract, in which case, we're going to probably designate for assignment at some point.
Yeah.
Once the thing is, maybe this works out and he doesn't opt out and he just ends up being a good pitcher. And that could be fine. Like, in that case, fine. I mean, he's probably not going to... He might not be as good as he is this year for the rest of his career. I mean, he's like a career, like, close to 3.5, 4 ERA guy. And he's having a career year this year. But I think what really bothers me about it is, like, this was a guy who, regardless of whether or not he was going to be on the team, he was probably a surefire all-star if he was going to be on the Tigers, he was probably going to be our all-star rep. He's a recognizable name. He's, he was a top 5, top 10 pitcher in baseball. You know, he is having like a comeback year after just a tumultuous last year where he was out on marital issues basically the whole year. And it's like, it's a good story. It's like something where we can be like, hey, like the Tigers aren't just, Javi Baez swinging at pitches 15 feet off the plate. It's like, oh yeah, they got Erod. I like Erod.
Yeah.
But now is Erod going to be healthy for the All-Star game? Is Erod going to be the same pitcher after this injury? Is this just the tip of the iceberg as far as
the Detroit way?
Essentially,
it's the Detroit sports.
It makes me so sad because we had something to where, okay, we can trade this guy, and if he continues to pitch the way that he's pitching for the rest of the year, he's going to opt out no matter where he goes.
Yep.
And we could even sign him back, right? Like we could, if we want to bring him back, but then, we traded him for value, and now we can't trade him for value, which is already going to harm just the deepening of our completely destroyed farm system.
Correct.
So, I mean, now we're looking at, we could trade Alex Lang. He's been a pretty good relief pitcher for us. He's got a sub-2 ERA.
There you go.
And, everybody wants relief pitching. And those are where the best deals for the trading team, like the team giving away the player, those are the best deals come from, because teams are desperate. They're like, whatever, we'll give you some random prospect that is actually really good, but we don't care because we need this pitcher now because we want to make a push. Like, I don't remember where I heard this, but I think I heard or read some stat that, like, I mean, I don't really know if this is a stat exactly, but it was like, the amount of trades in which, like the history of bad trades, like the most of them were like these relief pitcher deals where they trade away, some guy for a relief arm that doesn't win them a championship or whatever. Even maybe it does win them a championship,
whatever the case,
but they trade away, some generational talent.
Yeah.
But I don't know. This team is just
signature Detroit is all I'm going to leave you with.
I mean, it's like they're playing respectable baseball for the most part. They're not laughably bad. They usually give teams a run for their money. Sometimes they drop goose eggs like they did yesterday and potentially like they're doing tonight. Even though actually, I mean, it's 7-6 game. I can't be that upset with them. I can be upset with the pitching, but that's
maybe the case.
Whatever. I didn't expect the pitching to be bad or to be good.
Of course.
But I don't know. I just see. I thought maybe we could just have this thing where it's like, things can kind of go well for us. To begin the Scott Harris era of the Tigers, we can make a big trade and get rid of, this big signing that our last GM got us stuck on, and looks like we probably won't be able to.
No. Yeah.
So that is all I wanted to say on that. If you have any other, because I'm sure your baseball team is giving you a whole lot of reason to feel happy.
Oh yeah, without a doubt. Yep, I love when the Padres, one of the best teams in baseball, are playing like.
Are they?
Crap.
Are they really one of the best teams in baseball?
On paper, they should be.
Well, they don't play the game on paper. That's why you play the games.
That's correct.
Speaking of paper,
DeAndre
Hopkins.
Yes.
Released. Not traded.
They
just said, goodbye.
Bye-bye.
I don't want you.
Yep.
So, a lot of landing spots.
Oh, yeah.
That are possible here.
For sure.
I know, obviously, Buffalo and Kansas City have been the two hot spots.
Yeah.
Other places that are kind of sneaky. You got your LA Chargers. My Detroit Lions have been under some considerations. I believe it was Shannon Sharp on whatever his show is.
Skip with Skip
that's
Bayless.
The one. Yeah, with Skip Bayless. I believe he said he thought the Lions would be the best fit. I could be wrong on that. If I'm misrepresenting Shannon, I'm sorry. You're on television, man. I don't know what to tell you.
You're on a show with Skip Bayless.
Yeah. And I just want to know, what do you think of him as far as like if a team brings him in? Because I'm not so sure that this guy is on the better part of his career at this point.
Yeah.
I think he's kind of been sort of stumbling into badness. Obviously last year he had a shortened season because of the steroid thing.
Yes.
And the thing is, when you're taking steroids, it's for two reasons, right? It's to recover from injury faster and be really strong.
Correct.
And if you need to recover from injury faster, it's probably because you're older and you're more prone to injury at this point. And obviously, the wide receiver position is already a position that
Prone.
you're going to see a lot of injury.
Yes.
And
insert Keenan Allen. Sorry.
yeah, insert Keenan Allen, insert Odell Beckham Jr.
Yeah.
Any of these kind of big time, because you're making these jump and grabs and you land on your foot wrong, or you run and you tear your ACL. All these things are concerns I would have about if the Lions were to bring him in, or if any team was to bring him in. I'd be like, this guy obviously had the steroids thing, which is already kind of like concerning.
Right.
Like, is he gonna, be missing again? Like,
yeah.
I guess like first of all, what do you think of him right now as a player?
I mean, I think he's, I don't want to say one of the like better wide receivers. Like he's in a conversation of like, if you had him on your team, DeAndre Hopkins to me is still a good receiver.
Yeah.
So there's not the only downside, like it wouldn't be a downside to him being on the field and playing. It would just be what he does behind the scenes and in the locker room and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I mean, I would agree. I think he's past that, like,
right. I mean,
really good part of his career.
Right. He's probably not going to be an All-Pro for you.
No, I don't think so. But
he probably won't even be a Pro Bowler for you.
Yeah, probably not. But he is still, in some aspects, DeAndre Hopkins, who is
still
a good
he's
receiver.
still, how tall is he? Like 6'8" or something? Like, he's
I don't
a big
know.
guy.
He's super tall. Yeah.
Yeah, like he's a big guy. He's going to be able to make contested catches.
Yes.
And my concern about him, like you said, is that he's past, 30. And usually when you pass 30 as a wide receiver, tend to deteriorate.
Again.
And I just, as far as this drama thing, like as far as this like kind of locker room cancer talk, I've heard this before a lot. And I have the inclination that it's true, but I don't really know why. Because he was on the Texans, who are a dumpster fire. Yes. And then he was on Arizona, who was a dumpster fire. So he's trying to get out of two terrible organizations. He has never been in an organization that, at least at the time of him being there, was like good. Like, I mean, you had like a brief period where Houston was actually kind of good, and then everything just fell apart.
Yes.
And even when they were good, they were still blowing leads to Kansas City. And there's a part of me that's like, well, maybe you insert him into an organization that is respectable. like
maybe.
Buffalo obviously runs a good ship.
Without a doubt.
Kansas City.
Yeah.
Dare I say Detroit? Like, as it stands right now, they look like they're running a fine organization. We'll see if it implodes on them this year. But like, people seem to like the culture of the Lions as it stands right now.
For sure.
And I just wonder, if you insert him into a good situation, is he not going to be a problem as far as these locker room issues that we hear about? I don't know.
It's a tough thing because, like, again, kind of going back to what I said previously, like, you're looking at the benefit of what he could do for you on the field if you need something there. But then, it's kind of like what you're saying. You don't know if it's really just DeAndre Hopkins, if it's like him as a problem starter, let's say, or if it's really just other outside drama from the organization coming into the locker room or something.
Yeah.
Like,
he
it's hard
just
to say.
Be a victim of circumstance.
And that could, I mean, I would like to think that's the case, because I think DeAndre Hopkins is, like, I've said, is a good receiver, but
unfortunately for him, he might just be past his prime, and I think
that's how it is. And I think even though LA is a sleeper team, like the Chargers could get him, I don't really want him, to be honest with you. Wow. Like, you look at our draft, we just got Quentin Johnston. I know, pretty scary. Yeah. But you look at how we drafted, and then, I mean, who we already have, as long as, again, Keenan Allen doesn't get injured.
Well, that's Mike the thing, Williams though, about the Chargers is, like, if you bring him in, he kind of is like a sub, right? Like, it's like, okay,
but he's going to get injured there. It's the curse.
Right.
And he's already an injury-prone player, so that's just a bad recipe in my opinion.
The thing with the Lions is obviously with the JMO suspension,
Right.
Our wide receiver room is not nearly as strong as going
it
into the season. It
was.
might have been,
Yeah.
like, in theory, but I don't know. I mean, like, I'm not totally, like, I don't really know that I'm, like, totally in need of it. I mean, like, we still have a pretty good wide receiver room. Like, we have St. Brown, we have Josh Reynolds, and we have Marvin Jones. I mean, it's not elite by any means, but I think St. Brown is probably a little underrated. I think people are kind of like
he is too,
forgetting that, like, he was a Pro Bowler last year, and also like in his third year, he could really break out.
Yeah, for sure.
And be that guy. I mean, like, Cooper Kupp was another late round receiver brought on in part by Brad Holmes' influence back when he was in LA.
Yeah.
And people really didn't know who he was until like a couple of years ago.
Until
I mean, you
when he
knew
went
about him.
insane.
But, like, it was like, okay, he plays for the Rams, Jared Goff,
Right.
sure. But, like, it was probably a similar situation, right? Where it's like, oh yeah, the Lions, they got, who's that guy? Amon-Ra St. Brown, that kind of crazy name. Like,
the crazy name
I'm
guy.
like, and then obviously we had Jahmyr Gibbs, and that's going to be a boost to the offense.
Mhm.
Like, I don't know that, like, if you add DeAndre Hopkins, like, I guess, it probably would make our offense better.
I think it
But
would.
like, I don't really like.
There's not really.
I don't know if it depends on the terms. Like, if we're like, okay, we'll give you a 1-year deal or a 2-year deal where it's like front loaded, where like a bunch of the money is just in the first year, and then the second year is like nothing, so we still have a lot of cap space to spend the following year. But like, I don't know if he's asking for like 4 years. No, I don't think so, buddy.
Not at this age.
We want to be able to, spend some money in other off seasons. And probably won't be able to do that if you're asking for 4 years for, I don't know, however many millions a year, like 30 million a year.
That's the other thing too, is DeAndre Hopkins' contract, is going to be like a big contract wherever he goes.
And is he going to be the guy who's like, oh, I'm not getting enough targets? It's like, well, yeah, because maybe you're not that good. I mean, I don't know
what you're used to be, DeAndre.
The other thing that's kind of interesting is Cleveland is in the mix. Obviously, DeAndre has that connection with Deshaun, both at Clemson and in Houston.
Yeah.
So
maybe
I think they were at the same time. I might be wrong about the Clemson thing. I know they both went to Clemson.
They were both. They were both.
I think they were both at the same time. But see, to me, if Cleveland signs him, then that tells me, okay, he's not good.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? It's like,
pretty much.
I can't. It's like, I hate being that guy of like, oh, this team signed him, so he must be bad. But like in the case of Cleveland, it's like, well, I don't know. Like, we don't even know if Deshaun Watson is a good quarterback. Like,
I know, because he's too busy getting all these allegations.
Oh boy, that's right. Where is this? There it is.
Going to be a wet and likely wild night.
That's right. That's what's going on in Cleveland.
That's it is now. Yes.
And I don't know. I mean, like, I think if he goes to the Chiefs, he'll probably do well because he'll probably just shut the heck up, right? Like, he probably
because he's playing with Patrick
he's probably
Mahomes
gonna like not make a scene and mess that up.
No.
Or if he does, then then it just proves it, right? It's like, okay, this guy's cancer, we can't have this guy.
Exactly.
Buffalo, I think it could also make a lot of sense.
Playing with Josh Allen, I'd zip my lips if he's getting the ball to you.
Josh Allen is probably about as tall as him. So,
that is true.
Like, it's not like a matter of like a little Kyler Murray, like, excuse me, Mr. DeAndre, excuse me, no, down here.
Yeah, the little baby Yoda.
He's so little.
Yeah.
When is he coming back? Because he had that ACL.
Yeah,
is he going to be back by next year, or is it going to be?
I think
like...
he is.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably not going to put him in.
No.
Right? There's no reason to rush it. They're going to be terrible next year.
That is true. Yeah.
Then again, I said the same thing about the Seahawks, and well,
look at where that is.
Things change very quickly.
That is thanks, Kenneth Walker.
I love that man.
And Geno Smith.
Yes. Speaking of Kenneth Walker.
Yes.
Did you see about this MSU
I did.
Black Friday game?
Yeah, against Penn State at Ford Field. It's very interesting.
Is it?
Yeah.
I find it to be insulting.
Really?
It's like, first of all, okay. So the Lions obviously play on Thanksgiving because they do every
Correct.
year.
Yes.
So what we're dealing with now is we're going to enter Thanksgiving, obviously with Lions paint and everything, like graphics and all that jazz.
Uh-huh.
And then you're telling me Lions game is at noon. Okay.
Correct.
Goes for about 3 hours, 3:00. Then you got to wait for everybody to leave, all this jazz. And you're telling me then like it's Thanksgiving. You're going to have people like
Yeah.
just fixing up the field from 3:00 in the afternoon Thursday to what is it, 7 or 8 o'clock in the afternoon or in the evening,
In the evening.
Friday, and you're gonna paint it all with Sparty green, like, or are you just not gonna do that? Because if you don't do that,
Yeah.
this will be the laughing stock of the league that year or that game. Like,
Yeah.
you're gonna have MSU and Penn State playing on Honolulu blue, Rory in the center of the field.
Yeah.
And you're going to have Detroit Lions all over. And like, it's like, this is just like, why are we just taking the shaft on this? Like, why are we just like allowing, the Big Ten to be like, you know what, you guys don't need a home game for the last game of the year. Cause like, it really is lose.
Yeah.
For us. Cause like, if we're bad, then you're just going to have a bad and embarrassing game. It's going to look like a high school game.
Yeah.
Like because of just the environment, not necessarily because of the play. Although,
if Penn State turns out to be pretty good this year, then,
yeah, right. If Penn State turns out to be good, then they're just going to blow us out and it's going to be embarrassing. We moved this whole game and, all that stupid stuff.
Yep.
And then if we're good and the game actually means something, well, then we just lost a home game.
I know.
Right?
That's what I was most disappointed about is, like, I get to spend one less, well, in this case, it'd be Friday, but you know what I mean? Like, one less, we'll say Saturday for all intensive purposes in Spartan Stadium, which I will be doing next year.
Yeah.
It's like,
and I just, like, I don't get why there are some. I've seen some people, not a lot of people, but some people are trying to like, well, this is it's great because like then you got all the people who are home for the holidays that they can go to the. It's like no, that's not what's gonna happen.
No,
like most people don't go. Like if you didn't want to go to the game back in Spartan Stadium, you're probably not going to suddenly want to go at Ford Field. Like, even if it is closer, like Ford Field was closer to me back when I lived at home in Metro Detroit than it is now, obviously.
Correct.
But like, it wouldn't have made a difference. Like, if Michigan State was playing on Black Friday when I was still in school, I would just watch on TV.
Yeah.
Either way. Like,
yep.
And that's what a lot of people are going to do. Whereas, like, if you put it on campus, it's like, okay, some people, oh, well, nobody goes to that game anyway. It's like, I don't.
No, they do.
Like, people go, first of all.
Yeah. Yep.
And then also, if we're good, people absolutely would go because people went a couple of years ago when it was Penn State.
And it was snowing.
And it was like, it was like a winter storm. Like, it was like, and it was a meaningful game, right? It was like, it was to get us to 10 wins on the year.
Yep.
Like, I don't see how this benefits Michigan State at all. And I was told
this is what I see.
It's just money.
Yeah.
Is money just ruining college football?
Probably. Yeah. I mean, that's really what I see it as, because you bring up the point. This was my first thought when I saw that of we don't get another home game.
Mm-hmm.
Now, granted, the outlook currently is still what if for MSU, but Penn State, I think, is going to be a good team. I know you have differing opinions. I think it's going to be.
They're usually a good team.
Yeah,
I say that.
I don't think they're going to top Ohio State or Michigan, but they're going to be in the running.
Yeah.
Which, in turn, means that they will probably be, if I'm assuming how our season goes, they will be better than us.
Right.
But it doesn't really matter. I will go watch Michigan State football, even if we're bad.
Yeah.
It's just at home. Like, it's an atmosphere. It's in a college stadium.
Yeah.
And
it's like you're getting into a pro stadium, which, like, you're not gonna fill it for one because you probably like I mean, again, unless they're really good. But then if you fill it, it's like,
Yeah.
you're probably not getting students, right? It's like
Hey, you're probably getting a bunch of
you're getting a bunch of
or somebody.
alumni,
Yeah.
or like, and it's like, why are we doing
What's the point of
this?
that?
I
Because
just don't.
college is,
And
I
it's
don't know.
like part of the charm. Like, if this was like week 1, right? Central Michigan, Friday night, let's do it in Ford Field, where they can prepare it, right? They can make Ford Field like look like Michigan State themed. I don't know. They could probably do it.
Or both of
Or
Michigan
like a
State and
Michigan
Central
State,
Michigan.
Central Michigan. You can paint both of the end zones. It's fun little neutral site game. You get Central Michigan on one side, you got Michigan State fans on the other. You could probably fill the stadium on a week 1 game that is just basically an exhibition match, right?
Yeah.
And in this case, it's
But
like,
even then-
well, Penn State is probably, I mean, technically, I think it's closer, right? Like, Happy Valley to Detroit is closer than Happy Valley to East Lansing. But like, again, it's like, no, like, I don't see this being like a needle pusher for somebody who wouldn't otherwise go. If anything, I see it as people not going, right? Because if you're like a student at Penn State or whatever, or you're like a Penn State alumni, you go to every single Penn State game, no matter where they are.
Yeah.
Like, in that case, you're just going to go anyway. But if you're a student, it's like, well, I would like to go to the college so that I can see the college, because that's, it's you get to tailgate, and obviously it's going to be late November and it's going to be freezing because the state is horrid.
Awful.
Yes. But it's like, I don't know. I get it's the money, but like at a certain point, do they not just feel like embarrassment? Like, do they not feel like, hey, we kind of look like total losers this way? Like,
I mean, it's like that's college football to me. It should be more about the experience that you get, because you're bringing up like tailgating. Obviously, late November, it's probably going to be snowing again.
Yeah.
Right around Thanksgiving time.
Snowing or raining, or just generally speaking miserable,
or just
and maybe like some
windy.
people will say, oh, well, the quality of the game is going to be because Ford Field is climate controlled. It's like, I don't want it to be climate controlled. I want it to be like a whiteout.
Game.
Like I want it to be like messy and grungy, and like people are slipping on the field and it's crazy.
Like, I mean, like, 10 football.
I get it. It's like I get some people are just like, they just want to see the guy throw the ball a million yards every single play. But like I don't know. I kind of like the grind. It's like I don't. Maybe
no,
I'm
I mean,
just
I
an
agree.
old man. Like,
well, that's probably part of it, but I mean, I agree with you though. Like, Big Ten football is supposed to be like that because of the states
defense.
that are.
Michigan State is like it has that defense culture. Obviously, recently, but like it has like. But the Big Ten has always been
defensive,
right? You have some of the best defensive players, and just like best like trenches players, offensive linemen, defensive linemen, trenches, all that.
Iowa.
You have. Yeah, Iowa is
Iowa,
like a
Wisconsin,
defense. Yeah,
Michigan.
like all these places, and it's just for one, it's actually kind of funny because they're the Nittany Lions, so they're gonna be playing where the Lions play.
Yeah,
and then it's just like, first of all, they're gonna be totally outshined by the Detroit Lions, who will probably by that point be a good, if not very good, team in the NFL, and I'm just going to say it, probably destroy the Packers that game, right? I mean, if the Packers are as bad as we think they're going to be, and the Lions are as good as we think they're going to be, then that game is going to probably be a blowout. Or at the very least, the Lions are just going to have control for most of the game, and maybe you get some garbage time touchdowns. Maybe it's a little bit closer, but the Lions
what a happy
are like,
Thanksgiving that'll be in Michigan.
Exactly. We want a happy Thanksgiving, and I mean, it already feels a little like they're just sort of hopping on the bandwagon a little bit.
Maybe
because the NFL was like, we're gonna do a Black Friday game, and it's like, okay, well, all right, I guess that's kind of cool, but whatever. And then they're like, oh, well, we're gonna do a Black Friday game, and you know what we're gonna do? We're gonna make it Penn State and Michigan State, and also we're gonna put it in a neutral site. And it's like, well, this is just lame. This is just dumb. Like, this is like if you did like the Iron Bowl. Or Michigan State, or Michigan Ohio State, or some big rivalry game, or like Army Navy or something, like
something like that.
Something like whatever. Like, it's not like I don't know what this like. this weird like pseudo rivalry we're supposed to have with Penn State. I don't care about Penn State that much.
Yeah,
Like, I don't.
it's like what do we play for? It's like the land grant trophy with them. Or
Yeah,
something?
because they're both land grant colleges,
Which is like,
but like
what
I
do you
don't
frickin'
really,
do.
I just don't really care. Like they're not a rival at all.
I know the
and-
biggest game on our schedule is Michigan every year.
Yeah, and that's at least in that case, that game at Ford Field would again make some sense.
That would be
But
cool.
I would still hate
But-
that because
yeah.
it's like, no, I want it to be at Spartan Stadium or in the Big House.
Yeah,
Because that's where these games took place. It's like
college
if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Why?
Yeah.
Like college football is just like trying to like be
they're
the
doing too
NFL on
much.
Saturday.
Yeah, they're doing too much in my
It's
opinion.
like no, it's like I liked that you had these conferences that were just sort of like pseudo leagues, like little leagues inside of leagues, and then at the end of the year, some of them will play one another, and you'll see who's the true thing. And it's like, well, now it's like we're just gonna be the I don't know what they're gonna call it. Let's just say the NCAA East and the NCAA West, and it's gonna be like, or maybe the NCAA North and the NCAA South. Like you're gonna have the SEC and the ACC and
combined together,
Big 12 all form, and then you have the Big 10 and Pac-12 and
however they
the
do
All-American Conference. I don't know, however they want to do it. Which is, I mean, it's just, I don't. That's not college football. That's
It's
just
not.
like
Yeah.
a minor league, essentially, which is kind of what college football is, because that's where, I mean, every draft prospect is a college football player,
And
which
then
is
they go on to
like
the NFL.
part of what I like about it is that you
Yeah.
have like, it's like when you have these little like Josh Allen went to Wyoming, right?
Yeah.
Nobody was watching Wyoming games other than Wyoming fans. So it's like, who's this guy out of Wyoming?
Josh
I
Allen?
don't know. It's like Wyoming
Yeah.
might not have a football program if we keep going this way, because
probably
they're not
not.
going to be able to afford to buy players.
No.
They're not. Nobody like it's like the rich are
You have
going to get
6
richer
people who
in
live
the
in
college
Wyoming.
football.
Yeah.
That's right. Only
You know?
they got like 6 people in the whole state.
Yeah.
And Michigan State is a pretty big program, but like
Mhm.
in the grand scheme of things, if we keep going this route of like we're just going to keep seeing who can pay the biggest team, it's like, well, we do just make less money than Michigan.
Yeah.
And Ohio
Simple.
State.
It's a simple fact.
And
yeah.
like there's nothing we can do to change that. Like
Yeah.
other than be really good impossibly, because like
and bring in better players that sell more jerseys or something. I don't know.
I just it's just like college football to me is just like it's almost like a kind. It's like
It's its own thing.
they're trying to they're like committing suicide but on accident.
Yeah.
Like
I can
they're
kinda
like
see that.
trying to expand it. They're saying, "Oh, well, we're gonna give all this power to the players. They can make all this money. We can sign
NIL
them."
deals. Yeah.
And it's like whatever. I don't
That's
really
fine.
care that much.
Yeah.
But we're just sort of unleashing the floodgates here, and you have players getting paid millions of dollars before they touch a football.
I know.
Like Archie Manning, what's
Yeah.
his NIL deal? Like more
Something
than
something
like to
insane.
the point where it's like, why are you even considering playing for the pros?
Yeah.
Like you could just be like, oh, you know what? I'm just gonna opt out of
Like
the
that
draft.
is literally more money than some people will see in their lifetime.
It's like Bryce
they
Young
could-
doesn't have to be good in NFL.
No.
And
He's set.
granted, he could even before NIL, he could suck and he would still be fine.
But
like, there's like not like I feel like it's a similar thing with the NBA where you just have these individual guys who are just like trying to maximize their own profit.
yeah.
Individual players that are like, okay, I don't want to play for a bad team. I'm just gonna leave and I'm gonna get a really good deal with this other team. They're gonna pay me whatever I want, and there's no salary cap. There's no floor. There's no ceiling. I can just, tell me when to stop putting zeros on this check,
Pretty
Mr.
much.
Smith or whoever.
Yeah.
And I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like where it's going. And
Yeah.
I don't see these smaller programs, these kind of fun,
They're not going
little
to
scrappy.
exist.
Yeah, they're just going to
They're
be
gone.
gone.
Yeah, they're gone for
Yeah.
sure if that's the way it goes. Definitely.
No more Alabama A&M.
No. No more Appalachian State.
You take that back.
No,
Do
no,
not.
they'll stay.
They will always be around to
They're
upset
always-
random teams for
that
no
is true.
reason.
They'll be there.
But yeah, So college football is a dumpster fire. All my teams are a dumpster fire. Everything is a dumpster fire.
Thanks, Detroit or Michigan.
Yeah. I have one thing here. Bob Myers stepping down. I put in the show notes that the Warriors are dead.
Yeah.
And I think that's the signal at this point. I think he's waving the white flag. All right. It was fun.
Dynasty's done.
We're done. You know, we're moving on. Like we're not going to be a dynasty anymore. Whoever the new guy is probably not going to be as good as the old guy. I mean,
probably
it's
not.
Be pretty hard to
Bob
beat.
Myers is
and my thing is like he's just gonna walk out into the sunset.
Yep.
Which is interesting because I just think of some of the other all-time great GMs and coaches of different leagues that they just kind of keep going until the league is ahead of them.
Yeah.
I think of like Bill Belichick. Like I feel like the league is kind of ahead of him at this point. Or even like Joe Dumars with the Pistons, the league just sort of like he was going one way, the league was going the other, and he was the wrong way. And I think he's taking the right path and just being like, you know what, I'm just gonna leave while I'm on top, even though he wasn't. Yeah, he was close to being on top. He probably could have just left after last year. And he would have really been on top. Yeah. But like nobody's gonna look at this season and be like, "Oh my gosh,
that was a complete failure."
Oh my gosh, Miguel Cabrera has a 3-hit day, 3 for 3.
Good job, Miggy.
Oh my gosh, his first 3-hit game since July of last year.
That's questionable.
He is like, he didn't even lift the ball. Just kind of got there. I'm pretty sure the fielders just let it go.
Yeah, probably.
They're like, you know what, Miggy, you get a there.
There you go. Fine. You get a hit.
He's just trying to up his career average. He wants to make sure it stays above 300.
Yep.
But anyway, I guess what are your overall thoughts on Bob Myers? For me, it was like he was never a threat. Like because we were never a threat. And because we were never a threat, it was just like whatever. Miguel Cabrera surpassed Ken Griffey Jr. for total bases. Good job, Miggy.
Good job, Miggy.
That's kind of cool.
I mean, as far as the whole Bob Myers thing, I mean, I didn't really think about it as like the Warriors are just dead now, but essentially I think that's kind of what it is. I mean, he's probably just calling it quits on the whole dynasty thing, which I think there's no issue with that. They are one of the best dynasties, if not the best, arguably, depending on who you ask, in basketball. So I think that there's no problem with that. And I think I agree with his decision to just walk away.
Yeah,
and that was
great.
Like not go like anywhere else.
Yeah, not like see how long you can go until the wheels fall off.
Yeah, no, I think he's calling it quits at a good time.
Yeah, where it's like at the point where you're like, okay, I know you're a legend, but we have to let you go or something. It's like you don't want to. Doesn't want to embarrass himself.
But at the same time, like
I mean, like there's like an element to me though, like where I'm like, I almost kind of admire the like just keep going until you're dead, essentially, like. Where it's like, don't just, but in his case, like, it's not like he like was around for like 4 years, won one championship. It was like, okay, I'm retired. It's like, no, exactly. He had a dynasty. He was there for
a while.
Like, at least a decade.
Very minimum.
Like, did he draft Steph?
I don't know.
I don't know if he did. But obviously he was in charge of like Steve Kerr. Getting hired, and I think a good portion of the team that you see today, obviously, and the team, like obviously the Kevin Durant signing, the infamous KD signing.
Yes,
this is sort of unrelated on that point. Like, see again, maybe it's like I'm a Pistons fan, so it's like these super teams were never really much of a threat because we just never saw them.
Yeah,
and. I don't know. Like when KD signed there and like looking back, I'm like, well, I mean, if I'm a free agent, I want to go to the best team that gives me the best chance to win. Right. Like, so like, I just like, I don't really, like the people are just like, oh my gosh, he's so, how could he do that? And it's like, they could pay him. Like they could pay him what he asked for. And like, it worked out for him. Like I just like, people say like, oh, like those rings don't count. It's like, I don't think he cares. Like, I mean, I think they
doesn't.
like, for one, I don't think he cares. And I also am just like, they were the best team. I don't know why they don't count, because they were just really good. Like,
so to go back to your question on if Bob Myers drafted Steph Curry, he did not.
Okay.
But he was an integral part in getting Draymond and Clay.
Okay. So
he was
the rest of the team.
pretty much. Yeah. So Steph was there, and then I think it was 2 years before Bob Myers got there, according to this, because Bob Myers had been there GM for 12 years, and then Steph has been there for 14. And then Clay and Draymond 10 and 11 respectively. So, yeah.
Interesting stuff.
Yeah.
But I think that's pretty much all we got.
I think so.
As far as next week, we'll probably have, we'll have some of the NBA finals to talk about what's going on with that series. NHL Stanley Cup. Hopefully it'll probably be similar situation that we were last week, where we'll have some idea of what those series look like.
Yeah.
And perhaps we'll have an update on Erod. Maybe he won't be
Maybe.
dead.
And who knows? Maybe the Padres will be better.
Yeah, maybe the Tigers will be above 500. I doubt it.
But
it could happen, technically.
Yeah.
This game's still not over, but they're losing 9-6 now. See, I can't really be that mad if you're losing a game like 9-6. It's like, well, your pitching sucked, but like at least you showed up to play. Like you're not just getting annihilated on both fronts.
It's true.
It's like, sorry, your pitching that day was just awful, but well, that's what happens when a bad team plays a good team.
Exactly.
But that is where we're gonna wrap it up for tonight. Be sure to hit the smash the like button and subscribe. We'll be back again next Tuesday. And Seth, do you have any final words as Jake Rogers looks at a strike 3? That's great.
Well, for anyone who actually tunes into the show, I'll have a different background for the next couple of weeks,
and it'll also be much earlier.
Yes, it will.
So actually, I didn't even think about that. So you're still good with 7 p.m. Eastern, right?
I think so. Yeah, that should be okay.
Cool. If not, we'll have to adjust, and we'll see what time it'll be.
Yeah.
All right, sweet.
Yeah, that's all I got.
All righty. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Take it easy, folks.
See you later.